Welcome. I had a question. If you could teach yourself something that you now know about yourself, what would you teach? Especially when the question is, what would you teach? Because oftentimes when I've told my students, college and education is really not for you to learn anything, honestly. It's not for you to retain information, not for you to regurgitate information, not for you to spit out an answer, because anyone could technically do that. And there's not any need for education at all. Now that we live in the age of AI and we live in the age of information everywhere, no one needs to know anything. There's no, hey, call Johnny because he's going to be able to figure this out, or hey, call Benny because I know he knows the answer to this. It's just look it up, give the answer. So what do we teach? When I was in education, I often would tell my students, I'm not here to teach you the answer. I have a calculator for that. I'm here to teach you, to show you how you learn. I'm really just giving you scenarios from which you can decide, this is how I process. And if you're not asking yourself, how do I process information? What have we learned? Have we learned anything at all? For example, the modern explanation of AI is its ability to learn from a previous outcome or output, to know that when asked a similar prompt, it has a better comprehension, understanding, and application of previous information. It's learning, because previous outputs of computers only give you whatever prompt of answer that you wanted from it. For example, there was this great computer that was only do what you told it to do. That's not learning. I feel like we've missed the calling of what we should teach and what we should learn. See, many times, if I ask the question, what would you teach yourself? My question really is asking, if you were to go back and talk to yourself, would you have grace with yourself? Now knowing that perhaps you're neurodivergent or ADD, or perhaps you're on the spectrum, or you realize that in my brain, I think and process a certain way. So maybe if I went back to who I was at 10th, 8th, 7th, 5th, 3rd grade, I might be a little nicer to myself. No, you're not dumb. No, you're not crazy. No, you're not a behavioral disorder. You're simply a different processor. And how you process different, and how you approach things is glorious, and how you consume and observe the world around you is something to be marveled at. But many people do not understand it because simply they are not you. So how can some teach you if they're not aware of who and how you are? See, this is where I found friction often in the classroom, because it wasn't simply, let me just get the answer. It's, how did you get there? What, for example, if I give you a problem, let's say I want you to have 23 plus 56. A simple answer that you can plug into a calculator will give you an answer. Yay, this is the answer. However, did you, when you thought about 23 and 56 in your head, did you think, well, let me add 3 and 6 first and carry the 1? Or did I add 20 to the 50 and then add 3? That's a different processing. Instead of just worrying about the answer getting out, how did you come there? What bothered you? Were you able to have a system? Were you able to think about why you made the decisions you made? Critical thinking essentially is to describe how you think. The thinking of thinking. Why did I think that? One of my favorite quotes in the world is from the movie Sandlot. And Squint says, if you were thinking, you wouldn't have thought that. Well, that helps me solve a lot of problems. Because if I were thinking about why I do what I did, as I did what I did, it helps me understand and give more grace for maybe I was tired, maybe I was stressed, maybe I was overwhelmed, overworked, maybe I was in emotional distress and didn't even know it. Maybe I was in grief. Maybe I was in turmoil and spiritual dissonance. Maybe my cognitive abilities to fire at all cylinders and fire all my synapses completely were disturbed and hormonally imbalanced, or wherever you are. Maybe something was a little different with the route that my thoughts chose to take at that moment. If I ask the question, how would you teach yourself? I think many people would never go back with information and say, do this, learn this, repeat this, answer this. Many people would really look back and to say, I know how you feel. I know that when I ask you a question like this, your thoughts get fuzzy, your brain gets weird, your hands get clammy, and your muscles tense up because you are processing in a way that others normally do not admire or even acknowledge. When we say what we teach ourselves when we go back in time, I think we would never teach information. I think we would teach that who we are is okay. And how we are is perfect in order to learn how to be who we're supposed to be. This is always important because everyone who is successful is not successful because of the facts they know. It's learning how their brain manages and then pay everybody else to do what they don't do. It's how I'm good at this, so let me give everybody else a team on what I'm not good at. And that creates success. It's to say, I have certain spaces that I excel in and certain spaces that aren't for me. And learning those people, learning those gifts, learning those talents, learning those ebbs and flows, learning the ins and outs, learning that I have this tool, you have that tool, we are puzzle pieces that fit together, and that is what makes the entire masterpiece beautiful. I think that is why, if we ever ask the question, what would you teach yourself? You would teach yourself, I don't fit in here, so don't try to. I don't fit in there. Stop judging yourself for it. I don't fit in here, and that's okay. Because you are so unique that you need to appreciate how you were made, how you fit in, how you are not in everybody's puzzle, but you are still a piece of the puzzle nonetheless. I think this is always a space that people, when you think about this kind of conversation, you learn to give yourself a little bit more grace. I think that's today's conversation. More grace, more understanding, more reassuring that how you are was very uniquely made. I like how this quote would say is that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Maybe you haven't told yourself that. I would. If I were to go back in time and talk to myself, I would tell myself, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. It's really essentially a misunderstanding and a misreading on how wonderful you really are that they do not get. And maybe that's the rest of our lives' journey, is us walking in the wonderfulness that is uniquely you. So let's be wonderful today. Let's teach ourselves, even today, you are awesome. You are unique. You are valued. You are different on purpose. There's something about embracing your difference to know that you can make a difference with it. And that's what I would teach myself if I taught myself. Hope you had a good time with us. We'll see you real soon.